All right, guys. So we are here for the third of our series of flexibility for the inflexible. This is going to be the butterfly sit, which is my nemesis. I've been fighting this for a long time, which is my dad can't even get down in this position at all. He can't even fake it. So going feet together, seeing how close you can get your feet in towards your groin is part one, and then part two is how high are your knees off the ground. As you can see, mine are so high I'm basically flying. So we're gonna see, we can make a little bit of difference here. And it can tell my hips have been tightening up from doing a lot more sitting and less getting out and walking, getting around in quarantine time. So this is gonna be good, I think, for me as well. So we're gonna start off, got the Nerd Fitness coaching app. Gonna pull up my timer. Alec, thank you for putting together this timer that tells me what to do. I love it. Okay. So the first one we're going to work on is a prone frog. I recommend having a mat to be on. That's really the only thing you need to worry about. All right, here we go.
5, 4, 3, 2,
So
1.
for the prone frog setup,
Stretch.
we're gonna go knees wide apart, bottoms of the feet touching each other. And what I wanna do is squeeze my butt so that you can feel the little creases in the front of your hip touching the floor. And then I'm gonna try to, while holding that, lower my feet down. And you'll see, I do not have a lot. If I relax, I can get like my feet down, I don't feel anything, but that's not what we're doing. We're squeezing the butt, pressing our feet together, and then dropping the feet down. Holding for 5 or 10 seconds, you might even feel like your hips are cramping if you're really tight like me, and then backing off and going back down. Now, another variation you can do is to come up, go wide with the feet outside the knees and toes turned out, and getting into a rocking position here. Now, for some, this might feel less intense on the hip, but more intense on the inside of the knee. So I really like only doing this if you have padding you can put on the inside of the knee, because it can be a really sensitive place. And what I want to do is just rock back as far as I can keep a nice long back. If you can see, I just can't get any further than that right now. And then I'm going to come out. So these are the little pulses that we're working on. Controlled pulling into the end range, and then coming back out of that end range, back and forth.
Butterfly stretch W rocks.
All right. W/rocks with rocks. So now I'm going to get into that same butterfly hold position I was in before. But what I'm going to do is rock and shift my belly button towards my heels, and then hold there, rocking gently side to side, but still trying to actively pull my belly button forward as I hold my feet the whole time. So I'm actively pulling my belly button forward, I'm actively pulling my heels closer in, and then I'm also, as I rock side to side, actively opening up and trying to reach my knees to the sides next to me. So all of this is an active range of motion with just some gentle shifting of weight back and forth. If you want to use your elbows to help lightly press, I like to press not on the knee, but on the thigh and the calf across here on the inside of the leg, so that I can avoid getting putting too much torque and pressure on the knee. All right, so I'm gonna shake that out a little bit. Go back to our either rocking frog stretch here, where I can even just sit back and hold, or do the pulses. I think I'm gonna sit back and hold here, or I can do the prone frog, where I squeeze the butt, feet are together, and then I drop the feet down without letting the front of the hip come off the ground. I'm going to kind of talk to you guys about a little bit about being okay hunting around in a position, figuring out like, oh, you know what? If I'm down on my elbows, actually this feels better for me. If I'm up on my hands, this feels better. Or if I'm like shifting my hips here, this feels better. So like find the thing that works for you. Everyone's body is different, so you're just gonna find some corners that work better for you, and that's part of the experimentation. In my mind, kind of building that blueprint. What is your specific mobility blueprint, flexibility blueprint? I'm gonna be able to say that word eventually, and we can hang on to that and learn from that.
Rest.
Right. Next up, we're going into the butterfly stretch with the rocks again.
Butterfly stretch W rocks.
W rocks. So again, I'm trying to get my feet. You can, not only are your knees coming closer to the ground will be a good indicator, but how close you can get your feet in to your groin is a good indicator. So like, that's where I'm already seeing progress here. Is this has, even though my knees aren't necessarily lower down, I definitely have more range of motion coming in. And I'm gently pressing out with my elbows against the insides of my thighs. I'm rocking back and forth slowly. But at the same time, I'm also trying to actively pull my knees to the ground to develop that strength in this position. Got 30 more seconds. Oh, I should say, if you're having trouble in that butterfly and you need a little help, sticking something to help roll your hips forward underneath your butt can make a big difference. So like that could be a towel or something else. You might find that puts you in an easier position. Okay. Sequence 1 is done. So now we're gonna move on to sequence 2. Ooh, some of my favorites. All right. So this first one, I'm gonna go ahead and start it because we're gonna be in these movements for a little bit. So we'll kind of walk you through it.
5, 4.
This first one, I'm gonna get into a 90-90 position. That means my front knee and shin is directly in front, and then this knee and shin is at 90 degrees back. What I want to do is imagine I have a tennis ball or a golf ball trapped under that knee. I'm not letting that knee come up. I'm going to twist, look at my back leg, lift that leg as high as I possibly can away while not letting that one move. Then, as soon as I can't go any further, now I'm going to open up. In the middle, I'm going to pause. Now both knees are opened up and pressing down to the sides. And then I'm going to shift back. Now this knee has touched down. And then this one comes into this position. I'm going to hold this just for a second. I'm using my hands to prop up. If you walk your hands further back, this becomes easier. So the further upright I get, the harder it is. I'm going to twist, look at that knee, open up. Again, slow, controlled, full active range of motion in this movement. Now I get into that middle position where both my knees are equidistant from the ground. I'm pressing down as hard as I can. And then I'm going to slowly let that knee travel to the ground. Let that back knee come down. And I'm back in my start position. That took us like a full minute to get through all of that. So we want to be really slow and controlled with that opening up sequence. Now we're going to go into a pigeon pose, which you might know. So for those that are just starting out, I recommend actually staying right here and just trying to lean your belly button forward over this knee to get a gentle stretch on the outside of this hip. If you want, if you have a chair or something soft, the next level we can do is drop or lay our leg over this. This is not going to be sturdy enough, but lay our leg over this and then step back and sit here. Again, the goal is to kind of get to a 90-90 position where that knee is right in front of the hip and then the shin is perpendicular. The reason I recommend having a chair here that you can sit into is that if your foot drops off the side, it can help and you allow your foot to dangle. Letting that foot dangle and twist can actually take some torque off of your knee, which is super helpful, especially for those of us that are flexibility challenged here. You know, since that's compressing so much, I'm gonna go ahead and sit here and lean forward over that.
Rest.
Switch sides. 90-90 position. Getting tall.
Pigeon pose.
Long.
Elevated.
And leaning forward. Should not feel any torque on the knee. Hopefully feel this in the outside of the hip. If you feel torque on the knee, you can try supporting it by rolling a towel up and putting it under there to give it something to kind of prop itself up against. I'm just thinking, let my chest and my belly button drift forward. Feeling pretty good. Again, then you can start hunting. I might twist and face the outside. I might twist and face the inside a little bit. Ooh. Find a different corner. Map that area in your brain. Learn to feel that a little bit more.
Rest.
All right, great. Now we're going, is that right?
Bear sit crush.
Yeah, now we're going to the bear sit crush again. Okay, I'm going to show this from the front. Hopefully, this will be okay. This is still safe for work, I think. So, I'm going to start here. Squeeze, trap that tennis ball through the outside of my knee. Twist my torso while keeping that knee still pressing that imaginary tennis ball down. Lift this knee up as high as I can, and there's going to be a point where I can't go any further. That's where I'm going to allow the knees to shift into this equidistant position where they're both about the same height above the ground. I'm using my hands to prop me up. Then I'm only going to allow this knee to come in far enough that I can just barely tap that knee to the ground. And then I'm going to sink back in and then start that process back the other way. Open up. Hopefully still safe for work. We haven't gotten banned on YouTube. I haven't gotten fired at this point. We'll see. And I twist. Going a little bit faster, but again, you want to take this at your own pace. You should feel the hips really actively working as you go through this. We're not going for speed.
Rest.
We're going for control. Okay. Again, you can do that elevated pigeon pose. Some of you, if you're even more flexible in this position and you feel comfortable, this is why it's flexibility for being flexible. If you feel comfortable getting more into like this kind of pigeon pose position, that's fine. Again, if that feels like torque on your knee, I have this mat here, so being able to drop my foot off the side makes all the difference. It really helps my knee. But I'm going to stick with this kind of 90-90 position and propping myself up to help my spine get nice and long, and then drifting forward, chest over the knee. In deep breaths. Another thing you can do here to help develop strength in these ranges is I might be here, and now I might try to actively push my shin into the ground here. I'm going to feel that working the outside of my hip, and I'm going to relax. Back off, try to let that shut down, and then lean into it a little further. That's a contract, relax method. It's just another technique for
Rest.
teaching your nervous system to be okay in that new range of motion. So not only are we nerds, but we're movement nerds.
Pigeon
right?
pose.
We
Elevated.
like knowing how stuff works. Hey, get out of here. Go. My son just literally ran up to the glass door naked. So if we do get banned on YouTube, now I don't know if it's going to be because of that. I don't think that's on camera. Obviously, if it is on camera, we're not showing this. Or if it'll be because our bear sit crush was a little too provocative. Punching those corners, twisting, see if I go to the outside more. If I go to the inside, I'm finding that if I go to the inside, like my belly button towards my ankle, I'm feeling this stretch even more so. All right, perfect. That's our second superset, donezo. So I'm gonna come back in, test where I'm at. Well, I don't know if I got a ton of movement out of this yet, but my feet are probably 3 to 4 inches closer towards my groin comfortably, and it would be easier for me to sit here. So if I was like how I was before, like this, it'd be much easier for me to sit here and hold that position. So I'm saying, like, again, you might see incremental progress here, but I'm feeling pretty good about that. All right. Oh, perfect. I love these. All right, next one up.
5, 4, 3.
For our first progression,
1.
we're gonna do a leg out rock back.
Side
So
to
here,
side Cossack squat.
and we'll progress that. So what I'm gonna do is go one leg out to the side, hand and knee. I'm gonna rock forward and rock back, kind of like our rocking frog stretch, but now I'm really isolating this one leg at a time. And then I can switch sides about halfway. This is gonna be the first progression I'll show. I'll show the second progression on the second round, because I think you can still get a lot of benefit out of even just getting down and doing this. And you'll see from the side, we're gonna switch to the other leg. See from the side, I am sinking back through the hips. I'm trying not to go so far back that I'm like rounded. I'm trying to reach my hips back and then rock forward. It's gonna help with your squats, with your lunges as well, not just your butterfly sit. I'm just going until I feel that gentle stretch on my groin on this outside leg.
Rest.
And then coming back down. We're going to pair this with a straddle walkover. So in this position, I'm going to get my legs as far apart as I can, squeeze my quads, point my toes so my knees are pressing down into the back, so my knees are pressing down in the mat. And then I'm going to walk my hands from one leg to the other leg nice and slow. And as I walk side to side, if you imagine you're tracing this line on the ground back and forth, I'm trying to make that line just a hair further out the next time I go. And I'm still squeezing the quads, still pointing the toes hard out. And then if you're feeling like a lot of tension there, I might back off, shake it out a little bit, and then come right back into it. If you find a spot that's a really good stretch and you want to hang out there and hold and breathe, that's totally fine too. You guys are doing great. So glad that you decided to join me on this flexibility for the inflexible. It's been something that I've struggled. I'm not a super flexible person, but I have learned how to do enough to get by and find the things that work for my body, especially when I'm feeling tight after being like today. I was at my computer for 8 hours today and then coming into doing this. Okay, so this is where we could go back to that leg out rock back, or I'm going to show you the progression. I'm going to get wide like I'm a sumo wrestler, toes slightly pointed out, and what I want to do is sink down to one side, hip back, and then slide across to the other side. I'm going to stay low. So it's like I'm in a lateral lunge position and I'm going from one lunge to the other. I'm trying to think about keeping my hips as low as I can here. So it's not up, down, it's side to side. And I'm using the hand for support because you want to make your body have to work for it, but I also want to make sure I can get into a good stretch and feel safe. So that would be a progression, big progression to this rocking leg out that we did before.
Rest.
So did that, and now I'm gonna go one more time into a straddle. Again with the straddle, anytime you're having trouble it is okay to elevate the back of your hips in order to roll your pelvis forward just a little bit. Rolling that pelvis forward a little bit, that could be a towel, it could be a pillow, can really make a difference in allowing you to open up. There's just so much that starts from the hips and the pelvis. Yeah, I feel like there was some sort of someone's making a joke about that right now. So, but there's so much tension starts there, and if we can just get the alignment changed in the pelvis, it changes everything about what we're doing. Squeeze the quads, point the toes, slowly walk side to side. You want to feel a gentle stretch, not an intense stretch. Just found a spot. I just felt myself sinking deeper into this. Take it out. And we're going to do our retest again. I am like another 2 inches in. So again, and this part of this could be based on your biology, as we talked about. Structure dictates function. So if your hip socket is deeper than someone else's hip socket, you might not be able to get as deep. So for example, the classic example of this, and I think I mentioned it in the live stream, is the Celtic hip versus the Asian hip. Asian hip tends to be shallow socket, which means they can squat down, butt to the ground easier. Celtic hip has a deeper socket, which means it's much harder to get that deep, but you get more rotational power for throwing and stuff. So I am definitely have Celtic ancestry, but this is, making sure you don't think I'm cheating with this. This is way closer for me than it was when I started, as far as feet coming in, which is one of our 2 indicators. Feet in and knees down are 2. So, okay, that's it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed that session as well. And as we go through the upcoming weeks, we're going to be coming back to these movements, but trying to add little variations, more things to explore, and eventually adding whole new exercises to the routine as you get more and more comfortable. And I hope you guys enjoy it, and I'll see you next time.